Hi everyone, welcome to Third Coast Gaming News. Today is September 14th, 2021. We're doing episode 43 today, and yeah, we got joined by my co-host Austin Taylor. Hello.
Howdy, howdy, howdy.
And we got some game news that kind of showed up today that I wanted to start with. There's this we were talking about a little bit before we got on. It is Star Wars Hunters. It is a arena battler set after Return of the Jedi, and it's looking like it's a 4v4 shooter that's mobile and Switch right now. It could come to other stuff later, but it looks really cool. I'm digging the vibes that are not the free-to-play vibes we'll talk about later, but I think all the characters look cool.
Yeah, I don't know if there's like a good overview of say customization or if you're like picking specific characters
Yeah,
here, but like it is like there is a fun vibe and look to it, I will say.
so this is from the screen. There's some leaked screenshots. I threw it in our Discord chat. There, you are picking heroes when you start a match, and it's 4v4, and it looks like you're in like a it's an arena that is very similar to like a gladiator arena. Like it's closed off with a big wall, and it looks like you're getting in a fight with another squad. I'm curious if it'll have no respawns or if you'll have like some lives to do stuff. But it's third person.
Yeah, I imagine there'll be different modes.
Yeah. Um, there are different blasters you're going to be able to buy for like. There's a character who has iconic weapons that you can buy, like this Han Solo looking blaster in one of these pictures, where you can buy these blasters for 360 gems. And this could be a cosmetic, bunch of different cosmetics for this blaster, or maybe you're just getting a card outright for it. But it's got the thing like we saw, like Pokemon Unite just came out, and it had the mobile transaction stuff where you have gems that you're buying in the game store for real money, and then you have coins you're getting from playing the game and doing dailies and that kind of shit. So that seems like the basis. I'm trying to remember if this thing said how many characters there were, but no, the trailer, it's like a 90-second trailer. It's got like a Mandalorian character, it's got a stormtrooper with a minigun, there's a tech dude and piloting a droideka, there's some Jedi, there's like a Wookiee Jedi too, so it could be some fun stuff. I think fucking Star Wars you can get weird with Star Wars heroes and characters. Might as well make a hero shooter out of it. It's popular genre.
I don't know if any of this is getting weird necessarily, especially in the wake of an announcement of something like Star Wars Visions. This is pretty standard fare, early 2000, described as early 2000s, DeviantArt OCs.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot about the Star Wars Visions anime. Yeah, these all look like characters who could show up in like a Star Wars Visions side story as well, except that is much more anime stylized. But yeah, they are non-specific like characters from the Star Wars universe who haven't shown up as like main characters. You're not playing as like, Luke or someone from Rogue One who died. But yeah, there's a bunch of different like stuff showing up. I looked at this recently and I was like, oh, I would want this and play it like an Overwatch objective mode where you're doing the two things in Overwatch. You're either getting the payload somewhere or you have like a control point you're trying to capture. And I was like, I could play that a bunch. I want that Gundam hero shooter to come out in the States already.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, the other thing this teaser does sort of show is a number of not necessarily, we talk about the alignments of these characters like Jedi, Sith, they do also show these characters at the end of it anyway, can mix among teams. right? Because the ending of this is like the Jedi and Sith character on the same team about to go into what I assume is a different arena than the one that has been teased so far, which is like instead of the Mos Eisley looking place, which is like Tatooine and stuff. This last one is like a blizzard, so like more akin to what you'd see at like Hoth.
Yeah, and it looks like you
So
have.
like
Oh, sorry, go for it.
team compositions can be kind of like probably a little interesting here, like determined on like how these characters actually play and how different like they feel.
Yeah, and if I think if the mobile space is very big, and if this makes some good money, and they already have like a Switch version of it running, I would hope to see like a free to play version on console and PC come out, and then hey, this like where I think Battlefront 2 sold really well, but didn't have like a high tail end. If this gets enough interest, this could occupy a space where they're getting updates for a couple years, and maybe it's like something people like watching on Twitch. But it's got hero abilities too. Like one of the screenshots I have has like the stormtrooper minigun stormtrooper or the heavy stormtrooper, and he has like a meter that's 26% full, along with it looks like a jump button, a dash button, and two others. Because this is like a mobile screenshot.
Yeah, like a mobile layout.
Yeah, because it's got 4 buttons on the right, and then it's got your ultimate in the middle, and it's got some numbers at the top about some different stuff. So this could be cool. I'm a very big fan of like team composition shooters and that kind of like sense of like Apex and Battlefield and Overwatch, etc. So hey, we'll see how it plays. It's weird that it's coming to Switch first. I think that's the really interesting one. But a lot, people have Switches in their homes, so that doesn't surprise me. It's very popular, but it's not as big as the PS4 or the PS5. So we'll see when it comes out. I don't think they put a release date on this.
So it's next year.
Next year, yeah,
is what this Venture Beat story is saying.
So that'll be cool. Other cool stuff. I'm way into this. This Destroy All Humans 2 Reprobed has a trailer that was put out by the like official PlayStation website, and this is the based off the PlayStation 2 and Xbox versions that came out back in, I think this was 2004. But these games came out when I was in middle school, the first and the second one, and I just played them a lot. And 2 has co-op, surprisingly. Like, you create a clone of yourself, and that's a second person just plays at him. It's really cool. And it has a lot of fun gameplay, like guns that work around. Much like you get a lot of Ratchet and Clank type guns where they're just like weird. Like I think by the end you have like 9 guns in this one, and there's a lot of cool ship combat. Like I would call remake remaster, because I would say that first one is like it's the same game, but it plays vastly different. So it's somewhere in remaster, whatever the Shadow of the Colossus stuff was being called, and the Demon Souls, I would lump that.
Well, I mean,
there.
those are remakes.
Yeah, so I'd call this a remake. Yeah. So that first one was really cool. It was on Game Pass. I played it for a little while. I was like, oh yeah, this is what the first game plays like. But I think I vastly enjoy the second one, and this is like a THQ Nordic joint, and they have been putting out a bunch of different stuff in the properties that they have. And I'm the biggest thing, I'm surprised they're doing this, first of all. But I guess they have the engine from the first game. The game's already made. You just have a dev team work on it. And it's probably cheaper than making a completely new Destroy All Humans. So it could be cool. I think it's going to come to Xbox and PC later. There'll probably be an announcement saying that it's coming to those platforms later. That's usually what these end up doing, or it could be PS5 exclusive, don't know. But good voice cast. Crypto sounds like Jack Nicholson, and your ally is just the Invader Zim voice. You're like leader, and it's.
I mean, like it should be noted that like this is like from like what they've said is like they've only talked about the PlayStation 5 version, so like and we don't know much else about this from what I'm reading right now. So it it seems like it's oh well, and the tweet that was mentioned in that article is gone apparently. So it's like what this game, like what this re-release is actually going to entail is like still pretty up there.
Yeah, so far it's just looking like the first game, only PS5 so far. But, another 90-second trailer. It's set in 1969, and there's a lot of colors, and the environment looks really good. It's in San Francisco. You see the Golden Gate Bridge. Looks pretty. You can destroy some buildings. Looks like that remake of the first game, pretty much. So, for people who are into that, more power to you. I didn't know that. I guess that first game sold pretty well. It kind of came out at a time where not a lot of other AAA stuff was coming out because everything else was getting kind of pushed forward, I think. When did that first one come out? Was it last year?
The remake?
Yeah,
the remaster?
Yeah, the remaster of the first one. I think it was 2020. Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't any like long. It wasn't any longer than like 2 years ago.
Yeah, I think it was July 2020, and it was being like teased in 2019. So yeah, cool. Good on him. Did you get around to watching the PlayStation showcase at all?
Yeah.
I think I watched Nextlander talking over it. I'm gonna start with the banger, man. Wolverine game. Sure, I'm down. It's being made by the Insomniac team who made the studio of Insomniac who did the Miles Morales
Spider-Man
game. So it could be a smaller $40 game or a full title game.
Yeah. Insomniac, the people who do Ratchet and Clank and Spider-Man.
Yeah. Oh, they have two studios that make games right now inside of Insomniac. They have like their main and their secondary studio. Because like one was doing Ratchet and the other one was doing Miles Morales. That's why those came out so close to each other.
Sure.
Yeah. Hey, what's up, Austin? Do you like Wolverine?
I mean, yeah, like it's fine. It's probably like it's fine. Like it was a little teaser. It's an interesting like project to hear that they're working on.
Did you ever play the
2009 Raven Software X-Men Origins Wolverine game?
Yeah,
yes, I did.
That was a wild.
I mean, yeah, it's like that one was like a visually interesting like take on Wolverine because like that was the whole thing there was that like as you take damage you will see like Wolverine's bits come off. And like he will watch his skin regrow, and it's cool for like that audience of teen that's like, oh yeah, I get to watch all the skin come off of Hugh Jackman.
Yeah, and you're getting like
his skeleton.
You're getting like pre-X-Men Wolverine, so just running around murdering people in forests and going on missions and stuff. So
I mean, it's better than that movie.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. Like it's better than that movie.
And it is
it's like a fun game.
It is way better than the like 2003 X-Men 2 video game that I played on PS2. That is, oh my god! If you want to talk about unwieldy like 5 out of 10, 6 out of 10 PS2 games, that's one of them. That
no one knew how to do
con my parents into buying
superhero games for the longest time. Like even I would say like even the like Spider-Man 2 video game was fine, but had like some pretty big like gameplay issues like that I was not a big fan of. It took us a real long time. It was until like Arkham Asylum that people were like, oh, this is how we can like use this as like a template for making superhero games play well. But then unfortunately you get some games that just kind of feel like like different flavored like Arkham Asylum skins, which is not great.
Yeah, we're at the point where that's the template, and a lot of stuff has been fun. Even the Spider-Man game is like has the base, like the very base stuff of that is the Arkham stuff, and then it has the swinging and all your. I think the gadgets are way better in Spider-Man, but that's my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. Like that's the thing with like Spider-Man, right? That's what makes it sort of interesting take on it, because like you have the basic formula in how you interact with your enemies, but the way that you can chain like like the verticality or like the the athleticism of a character like Spider-Man, as well as the gadgets that you use, is so much more interesting and intuitive than anything that the Arkham series ever came up with.
Ooh, hot take. Yeah, I'll agree with you for most part. I sent you some screenshots of this Wolverine's Revenge game, and by God, I'm remembering. Memories are flowing in. This is of the PS2 era where you just got a bunch of costumes for the character by beating certain things. There's a bunch of comic books hidden around. I think the first level is you escaping from Alkaline Lake, where you're like test facility, and you have like the like Weapon X outfit where you just have like the weird headset and a bunch of like probes sticking out of you, and then you go fight Sabretooth and a Wendigo for some reason, or a big snowman dude. But I have very fond memories of this, and I know I also knew as a child it was a very bad game, but hey, you're playing as Wolverine. Wolverine is kind of in my mind, he's like the Batman of X-Men stuff. Or even like, I mean, as much as Tony Stark is a rich dude who made his suit and doesn't have powers, but like Wolverine is kind of like the like sarcastic badass, archetype of like that kind of
I mean, sure, like
character.
He's like the
Very
gruff
popular.
dude. I wouldn't necessarily say he's like comparable to Batman. I would probably align that more with like the Punisher. But like he's kind of like fulfilled the role of like a Bruce Wayne to the bigger Bat family as like as the X-Men series has gone on. More than anything.
He's very brooding as well, I think.
Well, I mean, yeah, he's just a grump.
Yeah, Wolverine's one of the only X-Men characters getting this like spin-offs as well. He's the fan favorite. Let's see. I think he's the fan favorite of the X-Men.
He's very marketable, right? Like he's the one everyone knows. It's the reason why you have so many X-Men movies, and it just takes them forever to get to a point where they're like, we don't have to put Wolverine in this one.
That's true. But Hugh Jackman, people love him. Let's see. And then we got the Spider-Man 2 trailer, which it's looking like it could be a co-op game. I think that'd be really cool. And
I don't think it's going to be co-op.
I hope to God it's co-op. There was like a double move in the trailer where you were taking someone down with Miles. Could also be an AI partner.
Yeah, I mean, if anything, it's probably going to play like the sections of Arkham Knight where Batman would team up with the various sidekicks, like Nightwing, Robin, and I believe one other character that you would team up with to like beat up on people. Like, I don't think it's going to be anything along the lines of like a fully co-op game. And I think the only reason people think that is because like Miles Morales also got his own game, and I don't think that's like enough to make me think like, this is going to be like a co-op experience.
Yeah, there are just some points in the trailer that make it look like there's like a fade to black where it has the background's black and it's their two faces are on the screen at the same time. But that also could be like maybe you're able to certain section of the game you're playing as Miles or you're playing as Peter, or you're able to pick between the two. Like I think Devil May Cry 5 has some of that where there are certain stories where you have to play as this character, and then at a point you're picking which character to do like chapter 5 in or whatever.
Yeah, like that's something that other Spider-Man game has. Like there are chapters of that game where you play through like limited like stealth segments as like Mary Jane and Miles. Like character swapping is not something that's like new to Insomniac, especially with like the last Ratchet and Clank.
Correct. Yeah, that you have been playing as Clank in levels for like as far back as the first game. So.
Well, I meant like going between Ratchet and the other Jennifer Hale's character.
Oh yeah.
Whose name?
And even before that, you would have like levels where you're just playing as Clank when he's off the back and doing some like light puzzle solving. But yeah, the that character switching stuff is much more much bigger in the most recent Ratchet and Clank game. But the trailer looks cool. I still don't have a PS5. Sony sent me a a queue time, or they said, hey, if you get in here between like September 15th and 16th, or it's 15th and 17th, so I have 2 days, and I think I can go buy one. I'm just broke. I can't buy one right now, but I'm thinking I might not buy a PS5. That's also something I've been like, I'm pretty happy with just having an Xbox and not paying $70 for games, which has, I don't think, like, new Xbox games aren't $70 except for, like, I think Call of Duty was, but I don't think Psychonauts 2 was 70. Anyway.
It's oh yeah, dude. Like do whatever, man. Like it's like the Xbox is good stuff.
Yeah.
It's just it depends, and the real appeal to like a PlayStation 5 is like how interested are you in their exclusives. Like I will probably get one of these at some point just because of like one of the other exclusives that was teased at the top of the show.
The KOTOR.
The
KOTOR
yeah,
remake.
the Knights of the Old
They
Republic
got you,
remake.
Austin. They got you.
Yeah. I mean, it depends on like what like this game turns out to be, right? Because this could be anything from like a prettier version of that original 2003 RPG, or this could be like a full like rework of it, which like either one of those is like one of them's not that interesting, the other one is kind of anxiety inducing in a very real way. And I don't even mean that from the sense of like I think Coder's story is sacred or like special because it's a really pretty boring Star Wars romp in that first game. But
Yeah.
it will be interesting to see like if they decide to work on that and like update it. It'll be interesting to see what they do there.
Yeah.
That
It looks like it's being made by Aspire
yeah, it's being made by Aspire,
Studios.
and
And
Aspire has been the studio that
mhm,
has been porting like older Star Wars games onto
yeah,
like the
like
PlayStation 4.
Jedi Knight and Jedi Knight 2
Yeah, Republic
and
Commando.
some, I think they do some port work for PC ports of stuff. It looks like they're in Austin as well. Maybe I should
Yeah,
go be like, "Hey guys, I'll work on KOTOR. What's up?" I don't know anything about video games, but
sure.
I like Star
Yeah,
Wars. Come on. Oh, their Embracer Group picked them up in 2021. So big shout outs. I don't know. I don't have much to say
big
about that.
shout out to Embracer
Yeah, I
Group.
guess that's not something I thought I'd ever say. I was just trying to think of something
Um,
snarky. Um, I this Kotor thing. I see multiple paths of the way they could do the combat. They could keep the RPG stuff. They can make it a little bit like how Dragon Age Inquisition or those Dragon Ages combat is, or make it like a full-on just action adventure game. Depends what they want to do.
yeah, I don't. I'm not entirely like I don't think they're gonna go too far from like the RPG aspect of it. I think that's like the people who make it are making it like based off of the really like shallow dev interview that they got post show, um, and it's just shallow because it's really short and they don't say much about it, and that's just because I don't think this is a project that's coming out for another 4 years. Um, but like I think they think like they I think they think this game is very like special and like they care very much about it. So like I don't know. I don't think they're going to pull too far away from it being an RPG. I think gameplay will probably be some sort of cross between like its older inspirations and like Dragon Age Inquisition level.
Yeah, so that'll be cool. I've never played KOTOR 1. I played 2 for a while. Could be a nice way to play that.
Yeah,
If it's
maybe I
good.
don't.
If it's good.
Yeah, that's the thing. I don't know. It's just like the other details we've gotten about this are like Jennifer Hale's coming back to reprise her role as Bastila Shan, who is your sort of like the main Jedi of the game, aside from like the main character, right? She's your like partner in your quest to find the big thing that is being used by the Sith to win the war effort against the Republic. Uh, so she'll be coming back, but like I do have some concerns regarding the because they're going to have to recast a good amount of people, specifically like Canderous Ordo, who is your mercenary companion, who's one of the better combat like tanks you get in that game, because his voice actor passed away like 2 years ago, and they're also have to recast one of the Jedi Masters you interact with, because his voice actor is Ed Asner passed away like a few weeks ago.
Yeah. I I'm also very curious. I just had like a trip back to KOTOR 2's gameplay and remember it like at the time it felt like a really open world, and like what story beat was coming next was always really interesting. So I didn't like you beat a level and you're like, where could I be going next? I could be going anywhere. Like I think I stopped at the point where you go to like a Jedi temple planet and you're doing some.
Yeah, so Dantooine.
I think so, yeah. But
Yeah, that's it.
yeah,
There's like two temples in there, and only one of them can be called a Jedi Temple planet, and that would be Dantooine.
yeah.
Um,
So I think KOTOR 2 is on Xbox backwards compatible, so I might go pick that up. If not, I'll go find it on Steam somewhere.
I would suggest, and I'm gonna be the person who does this. I would suggest like if you think your PC can run it, get it on Steam, download the restored content mod, and that's the way to play it. Um, because that mod takes a lot of material that did not make the final cut, but was still in the game's files, and like sort of brings it into the game and lets you interact with it. So you get more extensive conversations with characters. You get scenes, like restored scenes, and dialogue. You get an entire like section of Nar Shaddaa that was obviously cut content is back and is kind of it's a mixed results because most of it is just combat. So I think it's generally speaking it's a good mod to have installed and the best way to play that game.
Yeah, I will also check that out. I'll take a look around on Steam for that. What was the, you know, not too surprised, but we are getting that Uncharted 4 and Lost Legacy pack for PS5. I still haven't beaten. It's called Legacy of Thieves, but yeah, I haven't beaten Lost Legacy. I know some people say that's the best Uncharted game, and I almost believe them because I remember the opening hours of that being really interesting.
I mean, yeah,
And
like it's good. Like Lost Legacy like is a really good one to jump into because I think its two main characters, despite like issues with casting, are entertaining enough, and like it immediately puts you in that chapter of like the fourth game. Like where you're in a jeep and you're going around like this large map area in that fourth game. Like the Lost Legacy just kind of opens with you going to an area similar to that.
yeah,
So you just get right down to the fun of Uncharted 4 pretty a lot faster than that fourth game does.
yeah, I think that Jeep was probably the coolest part of Uncharted 4, and yeah, I could. That's a very
Yeah.
good get for PS5 for people who, I'm sure a lot of people played 4. Maybe not as many, but hey, it's a PS5 game. People who have PS5s want games. There hasn't been a lot of stuff coming out. There's going to be, I think they showed off that Gran Turismo 7 thing. It's going to be March 2022. And then we got like a longer trailer for like the new God of War Ragnarok trailer where they said what the title of that game is
Yeah, officially.
officially, which kind of
Because we've
had.
been calling it Ragnarok for like since its initial tease.
Yeah. I am like lukewarm in the sense. This trailer looks good. It's a beautiful fucking game, and I like God of War a lot. I still haven't played the PS4 version. I'm thinking about going back and beating that because I'm always into the Kratos vibes, and those first 3 games are so cool of like stuff I played way too much in middle school and high school. So I could see myself just trying to play the PS4 one like as fast as I can and not really mess around with the side content. Because there is a lot of side missions in that PS4 version, right? Like I remember the
I
temples and
mean,
stuff you could
kind of like
come up to.
there's like a good amount of it, right? Like there's a good amount of side content, because God of War, when that fourth game comes out, they've changed the way it plays, so you have character levels that you didn't have in those first three games. So you kind of need to do side content so you can get Kratos' character level up, so you can do the harder fights in the main story. Um, I don't think you need to do like the grinding side content of like the other realms that you can go into, such as I forget, it's been so long since I played, I forget the name of the other realms. Um, but yeah, like I mean, you can get through that fourth game relatively easily. I think it's about, I want to say it's at maximum like 20-22 hours long. Um, but I don't have like a time counter on the PS4, so take that with some grain of salt. It could be considerably longer depending on how you play.
Yeah, that's true. And I thought the combat was interesting. I didn't get to the part where you're getting the blades of chaos back. Those are very prominent in the trailer, as well as Thor showing up and doing
Well,
some
I
stuff.
mean, you can't hide them, right? Like you can't hide the blades of chaos in this trailer. Uh, I don't think. Like you kind of do need to like show people that you're starting off from where you left off at that fourth game.
Yeah.
Because like that fourth game was like a reset, so that's why you give Kratos like a new weapon, new look, new son.
Oh yes, new son, new family.
Yeah,
Your old family's
yeah,
dead, and I made a new one in Norse land.
yeah. And now like your wife is dead in that fourth game. It's Yeah, I mean the first game's fine. I think like if you want to like get into it, like you probably could. It's not that hard to get into. I think like it has some stuff with its menus that I'm not a big fan of, but aside from that, it's a pretty interesting experience. I will say, doing the side content. At the time when I did the side content, I thought it was really fun. My hangups with it kind of come in at the end of that game in a very real way.
Gotcha. Well, if I beat it, we'll talk about it. We'll see what happens. I think that was about it from the PS5 thing or the PlayStation show. I thought there was going to be a PSVR thing, but maybe they're saving that for later. Because I remember that stuff for those controllers came out and they were looking really cool. Maybe next year.
Yeah, yeah, nothing else too big. There's another trailer for Grand Theft Auto. We got some more Ghostwire
Yes, Grand
images.
Theft Auto 5, the
There's
10-year
a
life cycle.
Chia seems like a fun like game. It's like a tropical open world adventure. It looks like you're doing like some Mario Odyssey like possessing of animals to explore environments. That seems fun. Uh,
Oh yeah, this game's not in the in this blog. I remember that trailer. Yeah, that looked cool. Looked like a fun
yeah, yeah.
open world thing.
It's like the Guardians of the Galaxy game still looks miserable.
Yeah, I hope that comes out and is really good because I like the Guardians IP. So
I don't.
we'll have
I
to
mean, the
see.
thing that's gonna make me like that game is if like you come out like in like a few months and you're like, actually, you don't have to play as Peter Quill, um, because that character is dead to me.
Oh no, F in the chat. Let's see. They had the a little more. I am pretty excited for Tiny Tina's Wonderland as someone who is not that angry about how, like, I would call Tiny Tina as an annoying character. Like, let's put it down to that. But I think it's always been funny. I've always laughed at the Tiny Tina stuff in Borderlands games, so I'm pretty
Yeah, like
interested to
Tiny
see
Tina's
this.
shtick is like the least abrasive part of Borderlands 2. Um, I'll say like there's a reason like this entire game is based off of a DLC that comes out of that second game, and there's a reason for it. Like people like that character and like interacting with this world in this way.
Yeah.
I think my thing is it looks a I don't know what I was expecting, right? But like it looks a lot like Borderlands in a way that I kind of dulls some of my interest.
Yeah, it looks like Borderlands 3 still a lot too, and I thought it would have looked prettier for being a next gen thing, but this is coming out to Xbox One and PS4 as well, and you have guns still, so I'm like, they make a very big point of like, yeah, why are there guns in a fantasy setting? Don't fucking worry about it. Let's go shoot stuff. And I'm like, sure. It's got a good. The baby metal song in this is really good, and I think that was like, what is this? Is this Japanese metal? I don't know what's going on. So I have been listening to that. Yeah, it's a Japanese kawaii metal band, and I put a playlist of baby metal stuff. So
Yeah.
been a good time listening to that.
I think like the thing that's gonna get me to look at this again is gonna be like how do your characters interact, like with the world and enemies. I think I want to see more, and like they look like they're interesting, like characters. I want to say spells, right, and abilities that like vary in effectiveness and just general like. I'm just watching a lot of stuff happen now, and it's a bit too much. Um, but depending on how sort of the variety that you can get out of your characters in this game, it's gonna
Yeah,
it's gonna determine how much of this I actually want to interact with.
because I think the like three's abilities were okay. Some of them were way more interesting than the other, but I think having the ability to like cast magic could make a more interesting loop than Borderlands has kind of had before. Like some of the best Borderlands characters were like just the weird ones. Like there's the one from 2 where you have like the death mech who would follow you, and then Krieg, who's a psycho. When he took damage, you would just pump out damage back at people, but his super was kind of just melee based and kind of sucked. Um, I don't. Borderlands is cool.
Yeah,
Too bad about Randy
yeah,
Pitchford.
yeah.
Yeah, too bad. Everything else is cool about that team. Um, let's see. Hey, Sony bought the Playroom developers. It is Fire Sprite. So we're definitely gonna be seeing more I'm definitely hoping we're seeing more Astro Boy stuff.
I mean, yeah, this is just another like Sony bought a studio that you thought they already owned.
Yeah, exactly. And this is it's not a Sobe. This is the one they did Playroom and Playroom VR, not the other one. I think those were the first one, Astro Boy stuff. Anyway,
Yeah, I just think Astro Bot like sort of
yeah, Astro
comes
Bot.
from Playroom in a real way. Yeah, Astro Boy's a whole different thing.
Yeah. Cause what is a I don't even remember the Playroom VR thing. That's not Astrobot's Adventure. Oh yeah. This is. I remember when the PS3 first came out, you could mess with Playroom. Yeah, I think it's the one where you shake the DualShock 3 and you could see all the Astrobots being like shaking around.
Yeah,
Astrobot,
yeah.
Astro Boy. Okay.
You could see all the little guys.
Yeah, and you could suck them up into the controller, or is that the PS4 one? God, everything's just blending
Man,
together. I don't fucking know anymore.
I don't know. This is just what happens when you don't like you don't pay attention to these things. It's like, oh, this is news now. It's like, but what is it?
No, this was the PS4 one. I remember Giant Bomb playing the Playroom from 2013 and like fucking around with all the Astrobots and shit. Yep, that's right. Ninja Bots and My Alien Buddy. Anyway, it's fine. I think did the Apple and Epic stuff wrap up completely, or are they still doing?
Well, there's
It's the seventh.
the
That was the seventh day. Was this news story that I pulled?
yeah. Well, the judge reached a verdict.
Yeah, and it's kind of the best verdict for people and like the smaller developers, which is Apple and Epic both didn't get exactly what they wanted, and I think Epic has to pay Apple a bunch of money because of the making their offset store.
Yeah. So what like the judge ruled is that Epic did not prove that Apple is a monopoly, which, all right, man, fair. You're like this person's the
Yeah,
judge. I don't know anything about the law, so like
I
that's
don't.
fine.
Yeah,
But like the judge, I don't know why, Judge Gonzalez Rogers, yeah, decided that Epic did not prove that Apple has monopolized the iOS store, right? So Epic will have to pay Apple um, a lot of money, at least like that 3.6 million. Yeah. So also directly lost some 3.6 million, which it has to pay to Apple, and it's going to have to pay more because the judge decided that Apple deserves the 30% cut that like Epic was making during this lawsuit off of sales like in iOS. So it's basically the judge like decided that Epic had breached its contract with Apple, and that's not okay. But then did decide that Apple that cannot like restrict you developers from directing users to their own like monetization platforms.
Yeah. There's a good quote by Jason Schreier because he has a couple of pictures from his article. But his big quote that I like is "Big win for everyone who is rooting for both companies to lose." I mean, they're not losing in a big way, but it's like, letting people have their storefronts not be attached, and the
I
30%
mean
stuff is an interesting get.
they're both losing in a pretty big way here.
Yes. Yes.
Like Epic has to pay like millions, and like the impact of like Apple not being able to keep developers from placing their own like their own payment methods in their games and directing users to that. The effects of that, it's going to take a while for us to see those, but like those effects could be, I don't want to say catastrophic by any means, but they could put a huge dent in the amount of
Yeah.
revenue Apple's pulling in from iOS games.
Yeah, it's good stuff. My last story. This is my fun article of the week, or fun video of the week, is the Lego question block. That's gonna be like the Mario 64 thing. It's just you put it together, and then when you open it up, it flips out like 4 Super Mario 64 areas, and it's got the penguins and the castle from Mario, like Peach's castle. And I really like the almost. You remember the Minecraft Lego set that came out a while ago?
Yeah, yeah, I
It
have one of those.
Yeah, it looks like that. Like it has a bunch of those smooth surface blocks that you put. And when you're done with it, you clamshell it, and you just drop it right back into the block. It's $160, and I swear to God, I will never give Lego that much money for any set. Like the most I will give Lego anything is like $40 because those things are just so expensive. And
Hmm.
I'm already giving Games Workshop my money. They're getting that. I spent like 150 on models and
Yeah,
books already. I can't give Lego that
yeah.
money
I
too.
mean, yeah, and you can't get all your friends together to do a 6 hour like fantasy combat scenario with Legos.
Yeah, I mean you could, but it's probably someone somewhere out there has like a fan made Lego tabletop
Yeah,
thing.
someone's hacked like Warhammer or BattleTech.
Yeah, like one of my brother's friends started has like a bunch of rule books for Gundam models where it's like a 3-on-3 and has like a city terrain set up at one of the San Antonio shops where you have like life points and how many points the models are, etc. But Lego would be a cool place. Like if Lego put out like a tabletop RPG set where you have a big map and you are able to make buildings and have your like they could do a really cool collab with like D&D and have a bunch of D&D like fantasy figures.
Mm,
I think that would be like a interesting.
that
I
would
would buy
be
it. Like
that would be far too niche for that to be successful.
I don't know, man.
I
Could
don't I don't think
well,
like you have to get like a lot of people like especially with like the way that I interact with D&D, like a lot of people in order to get a lot of people into D&D, you need to make it as unintimidating as possible, which is a really hard thing to
yeah,
do when you're working with an RPG that has like well over 20 books associated with
yeah.
it. And I don't think like here now we're going to start messing with terrains that could crumble easily because they're Lego. Is the way
Oh,
to like is a particularly good like
yeah. If you
crossover
like
for them.
elbow that Lego,
Yeah.
when you're moving your characters, you're gonna knock that building over. But I could see like almost a beginner's like guide type of, or, it might not be D&D like you're saying, because I think D&D, like Wizards would have to write a rule book, and then Lego would have to set up the models for it, and that's a little bigger than what I think my idea is. But there could be like I remember there was some Lego board games. Like, there's a Harry Potter Lego board game at one point that are like that have rule books and you're playing
Yeah, like board
stuff.
games would probably work, but like for something as like free form as a tabletop RPG, I just don't see it much past like maybe a Lego set that is like, oh, this is the Lost Mines of Pandelver, or
You
like
could
a
do
far
it.
more, hopefully a far more interesting location. But even if they like made a Lego set based off of those locations, I don't think they could make it to the point where you could interact with it in a game in that way.
Yeah, the closest thing I found, there's like this Lego Hobbit one that I'm looking at that's just a bunch of space. It's just a bunch of Hobbit houses, and you move your characters between them, trying to do stuff. And then there is a Harry Potter one that looks like a maze, and there's like 4 character colors. There's like one of each. Because I remember these coming out and being like, oh, that's kind of cool. I think like Lego board games is like an interesting way to get like use of your Lego sets. Yeah, there's a couple different Lego board games. There's some Minotaurs Lego game, Atlantis Treasure. They're all like what I would call the like 7 and up genre of like board games. They're not too complex.
Yeah.
Lego Ninjago. Oh, you know what I want to get into, Austin? I would love to play Twilight Imperium for 8 hours one day. I want to buy a Twilight Imperium box at some point.
Ooh.
Yeah. Do you know about Twilight? Do you know
I
how
I know about Twilight
the
Imperium.
dark... Oh my god, there's a Twilight Imperium box on Amazon for $120. I could so fucking buy this thing. Do you watch Sit Down and Shut Up or whatever that board game YouTube channel is? Sit Down and Play?
No. Yeah, the only like board
called
gaming YouTube
Shut Up
channel
and Sit
I
Down.
follow is like no pun intended.
Gotcha. These guys, they're a bunch of British reviewers. They looked at some, they got me into like there's like there's a really good Lord of the Rings board game where the forces of Sauron are just basically always ever powerful and always screwing over everyone else, and you kind of are trying to complete your objectives and these small missions while the forces of evil are like spreading throughout Middle Earth. And it's like a $200 set, and it's got a bunch of really cool minis in it and stuff. But anyway, I might buy this.
Couldn't do it.
Twilight Imperium. It's like you can win Twilight Imperium through politics, which is the wildest part of that game.
Yeah, like I know, like I'm trying to think, like this is like Fantasy Flight Games. They do good stuff. Their Star Wars tie-in games are generally pretty good. But like the time commitment that Twilight Imperium asks of you is just a bit much. And like at $120, I could put money into some really interesting like indie RPGs.
This is true. It reminds me of there's a Fantasy Flight one called Star Wars Rebellion that's pretty cool, where you've got all the planets set up, and you have like win condition draw cards that you draw in the beginning, so you have to like get the plans for the Death Star and do some other stuff. It's like the Lord of the Rings one where the Empire is always making new units and you're just kind of have like 2 bases.
Yeah, the stuff that I've messed with from them is like Edge of the Empire, which is their like sort of like tabletop RPG, like Star Wars set like at the edge of like the outer rim of the Star Wars galaxy.
Okay, I see this. That's pretty cool looking. Oh, hey, pretty good price of entry for like a beginner game. It's like $30.
Yeah, like the core rulebook is like the beginner guide is 30. The core rulebook is like 60. It's generally pretty easy to get into, and like I think the thing that sort of brought me into this one specifically was like there isn't anything in these books for Jedi.
Great.
Which is the most interesting thing. Like, which is the stuff I want to see more of in Star Wars. It's just like, get away from the gosh darn Jedi and Sith, please.
What is this? Rise of the Separatists, an era source book. I wonder if there's a Jedi on the cover of this. I'm just like, maybe they added him later. Oh, the
I mean, yeah,
collapse of
there's
the
like
Republic. And,
they
and
have like so
Era
many
source
different
book.
things.
Era source books, yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Gotcha. Well, I think we should wrap. Oh my god. Lego got crazy with some of these Star Wars ones.
Yeah.
Dude, let me tell you about this Lego Cantina set that's $350, Austin.
Oh,
And
just $350.
it's just $350. You can get
Like,
it's Amazon is like, "Hey, you could get a credit card and pay this off to us." And I'm like, "I already have too many credit cards. I cannot." But damn, this thing's got like 15 minifigures. It's got the dumb little speeder that you see in the background that's never like shown up again, and you've got
yeah.
what the fuck is that lizard called? The ones
The
people
like,
ride? I don't know.
um,
It's got the dudes who are like, "I don't like your kind here."
yeah, it's got the bartenders like, yeah, we don't like droids here. I forget the name of the lizards. There's a specific like thing that
Yeah,
people call them, but I don't.
it's
Yeah, it's
fine.
like
That
I
thing's
think it's
cool.
like Lego Star Wars sets are buck wild, you know. Like when we went into a Lego store while we were in California. Um, and at the time they had like that limited edition Millennium Falcon set, like not the one that I think you can find on Amazon right now, but there's like a bigger, more premium limited edition like Millennium Falcon set that was like several $100s. And the store attendant like actually talked about how there's a customer who like came into the country to buy that set and like came in with a suitcase, bought it, emptied the contents of that box into his suitcase, and then left.
Wild.
It's just it's so much. Like the only like Lego Star Wars that I could see myself even thinking about messing with is the probably the Mandalorian ship set I'm looking at right now, but that is like $130.
I think there was a story I was reading about how Lego was almost going bankrupt or really close to it, and when they started doing the Lego stuff at the start of the prequels and a trilogy and a little bit before that, is that they started making more money because of that.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. It's
Yeah.
like people like sets, like you know, like guided Lego sets, and the aesthetic of Star Wars lends itself, especially the bulkiness of like you know original trilogy and new sequel era, lends itself really well to Legos.
Yeah, like 2003, 2004, around the time of the Bionicle and Star Wars. And I think the Harry Potter stuff was getting really... Like, I remember I got a couple of those Harry Potter ones. Like, I got the Dursley's house, and you had the car from the second movie where you pull the window and get Harry out. But,
Yeah.
yeah, good times with Legos. All right, I'm going to go ahead and say, hey, let's wrap this podcast up. Thanks for joining me. We got an hour of video game news and some Lego talk at the end there. Good times.
Yeah, like a $700 collector's
Jesus
edition
Christ.
Star Destroyer.
Oh yeah, the one famously seen in Spider-Man, right?
No, that's the Death Star.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they break the Death Star in Spider-Man. This is
Yeah.
just a Star Destroyer. This
Oh
is,
yeah, there it is. Ooh, that's a big Star
shit.
Destroyer. That's it.
Yeah,
Look at
it's
that box.
huge.
Look at that box
Yeah,
for it
it's
though.
a good box.
It's like the Black Series boxes where they're just like matte. I'm sure this is a matte box. I'm sure when you touch this box, you're like, this feels like money.
I hope it does. It's $700.
Yeah,
It's even got a little like
you can get
it's
an
even
LED kit for it.
got the little the ship, I forget the name of the ship that
Oh, the
Princess Leia is
Tantive
on.
4.
That's right. Yeah, it's like the Tantive 4, Tantive 5.
I only remember
Um,
this because you can buy one. You can buy an X-wing ship of it and go play stuff.
yeah. Yeah, I remember it from like the level in Battlefront 2, the old Battlefront 2. That's a really good level in that game too.
It is
I
a
like
really
that
good
one a
level.
lot.
Battlefront 2's got the good shipboarding, as it turns
Yeah.
out. That's just on Steam, right? We could play that at some point.
Like yeah,
I'll go
2003
fucking-
Battlefront 2. I
Yeah,
got
I
it
think
on
that's on
GOG.
Steam.
It's also on Steam. I know it's on Steam.
I'll get it on GOG. I could play some bot matches of that game and be a badass.
Yeah, it's good stuff,
It is
man.
really good stuff. I have that on Xbox, and I keep it on my hard drive because it's a good load up. Playing Darth Maul on Coruscant and murdering every fucking clone trooper you come across is a good time.
Oh yeah,
Um,
like yeah, just Darth Maul like cuts through everyone in that game like nothing. It's
yeah. All right, I have to send you one more thing before we wrap up. There's a Unicorn Gundam that is $220 model kit because it has places in it. When you build the head underneath it, you have to have a section for an LED to go into it. So the Unicorn Gundam has a regular mode, and then it goes into destroy mode where the armor pieces flip up. And your
yeah,
LED, you can switch between green, red, and I think another color. But this is like the ultimate unicorn. Like there's a very bottom picture of all that. You have to install LED strips in this motherfucker while you're building the inner frame to make sure all the lights are set up. It's
yeah. I'm
fucking
looking at
crazy.
this
This
right now.
thing's
This
fucking crazy. I would not buy. There's an $80 unicorn that I want to buy. That's like one of the green ones
yeah, I could
that I'm gonna
not.
get, but that's about it.
I could not see myself. Yeah, because like there's like all the different configurations of like the destroy and the like of the part where it's like absorbing Minovsky particles. It's it's so much. And the thing is, I've never been into like the Unicorn Gundam outside of its base configuration. I have to say personally.
Yeah, base unicorn is gorgeous. Like if I were to flip it, I'd keep the V fin closed because I think it looks cooler as like a mono V fin. But someone is selling this one I sent you on Amazon for like $80. I used to have it, but I sold it to my brother, which was unfortunate because I really wanted to build it. But yeah, I think the unicorn's cool. So is the new Gundam. Anyway, oh, and the Banshee, the black one with like a yellow inner frame, is also cool. Anyway, thank you for joining me, Allison.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
All right. Until next week. We'll see you later, Internet.